Good morning, everybody, and to our audience in the room today, I hope you're comfortable, but that is the stupidest question I've ever asked, because I'm absolutely sure that you are. There's nothing worse than starting an event with an apology to everybody, but I'm going to take full responsibility for this on behalf of Proudly South African. Those of you who are sitting in these chairs behind me and think that you're at the South African premiere of the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die, you are in the wrong room, okay? That's a little bit later on today. So, folks, it's really good to be with you, and thank you so much for joining us. And welcome to what I think is the sleep capital of Johannesburg. Never underestimate, my father said, and he was 94 years old when he passed, never underestimate, he said, the value of a good nap. So I hope that you won't fall asleep in these wonderful lazy boy chairs today. I'm told that there's an 82% chance of at least one of you falling asleep and napping today in these chairs. I'm going to ask you not to do that until later on today. Wait until we're finished. Today, Proudly South African is launching its Living Lekker campaign. And first of all, let me introduce myself. My name's Jeremy Maggs. I'm a journalist, I'm a broadcaster. I've been in the brand watching business for over 30 years. And I have always lent my time, my name, my support to Proudly South African, because it's only when we do that do we see the benefits of growing an economy. And I would ask each and every one of you to, when we finish this a little bit later on, to go outside and to look at the astonishing fare that is available, because when I look at that and I sample and I touch and there's a tactility to all of it, I feel very, very proud about being a South African. The strategy, the Living Lekker campaign, makes absolute perfect sense. Let me give you my 2 cents worth on why I think this is so important. Supporting local business, South African business, has significant economic impact. And goodness gracious, don't we need significant economic impact in South Africa right now? Even before our world was struck with the COVID-19 pandemic, it was absolutely critical that we looked local. And I would suggest to you, as we launch this campaign today, that that has never been more important. What are some of the benefits? They're obvious, but let me recap them. Small businesses are job creators. Spending locally ensures that the money is kept in our orbit, in the South African orbit. It keeps circulating within the South African economy. Here's a third point. By supporting locally owned businesses, you're helping bridge the wealth and equity gap for marginalized populations. We know what the Gini coefficient is like in this country. The more we spend locally, the more we keep that money in the economy, the better it is in bridging that wealth gap. It's absolutely critical. Buying from small businesses that source local products can reduce environmental impact. We don't have time to get into the climate change debate right now, but it is important. And I also think that local businesses and local products and local services add to the diversity of products that are available to our community. Those are just 3 or 4 that came to mind as I was thinking about this morning. There are many, many more, but that's why this campaign is absolutely critical. This Living Lekker campaign is absolutely critical. Let's start off. I'm going to introduce our host to you in just a moment, but welcome to all of you who are watching us via the web. And if you want to, at any juncture, ask us questions, myself and a representative from Proudly South African will be available to do that a little bit later on. I've got an iPad in front of me, and we'll keep an eye on that. Our host today is a proud proponent of manufacturing and buying local. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Sbw Brands. His name is Dave Govender. What are some of the brands that I'm talking about? Well, Edblow, Goma Goma, Grafton Everest, Lazy Boy, Sealy, Slumberland, all famous, well-entrenched South African brands. Some of us are sitting on those today. Careful, don't fall asleep. I know the temptation is there, okay? What does Dave say about Proudly South African and about buying local? He says his company is committed to supporting the economic development of South Africa and industry, and partners with like-minded businesses and organizations to drive upliftment in every sense. He also goes on to say that he uses the Bravo brand's name for greater good. That is really important, that brands actually do it, that they live by what they say, that there is a degree of authenticity. Dave is also one of the few people I know that is actually paid to sleep on the job. Floor's yours.
Thank you, Jeremy. There you go, the cat's out of the bag. I get to sleep on the job, lounge around, but that's what I love doing, right? So firstly, congratulations, I've got a mask. We're all survivors, eh? We've survived something that nobody else can say, you know, is an easy thing to do. So congrats to all of you. Let's keep it there. Let's make sure that we can come out tomorrow, next week, and the week after, continuing to encourage our fellow South Africans to survive. So I'm hoping at least most of you have been jabbed, at least once. I've been twice. So yeah, firstly, welcome. Congratulations on being here. Congratulations, Jeremy and the Proudly South African team for launching Locally Lekker, Living Lekker. Staying with that theme, I'm absolutely baka to actually get all of you here. Bravo Brands, as Jeremy's elucidated so nicely for us now, is a house of brands proudly manufactured in South Africa. So that's the key part, proudly manufactured in South Africa, because anybody can broker a brand and sell it. We make it here. That is fundamental to our uplifting of communities. What I see outside in the foyer as I came in just makes me even more prouder to be a South African and supporting a proudly South African cause. We've set out as Bravo Brands not only to bring our brands, already the most widely spread and distributed brands in those categories in South Africa, by any measure. But we want to do more. We want to act beyond that by investing locally further. And to give you an example, Living Lekker means no time to die. Sorry, Mr. Bond, don't chase me. Living Lekker means absorbing every single day. In my mind, what does it mean for me as Dave? What does it mean for us as Bravo Brands? It means we live our actions every day, and then we can go with the thumbs up, we're living Lekker. Why? Because it's authentic. We're not just putting stuff on wallpapers around our corporate offices and, you know, putting this into our media releases. We're actually living Lekker every day because it's not a job then, it's what we do. We're investing in the local communities, we're investing in local business. I mean, you're getting the grand release from me. Effective tomorrow, we would have invested just under R1 million to take Bravo Brands and our portfolio brands onto the big screens in South Africa. So we're saying the entertainment industry has had a massive knock. COVID's helped to make sure that people can't get to cinemas. Advertisers haven't been out there. So we're doing that. We're taking our brands, putting them onto the big screen, letting South Africans know that we are there not just in terms of the products you're enjoying at the moment, but we're there for more South Africans, because that just lifts. The virtuous cycle continues from there. Yeah, so we're investing in marketing like never before, supporting the local marketing agencies, supporting the likes of yourselves to be able to practice your livelihoods. And that's what Living Lekker to me means. We are enablers. We are fortunate to be able to have these fantastic brands that we own and custodians of, to be able to bring it to South Africans and beyond, by the way. We are already exporting to other parts of the continent in Africa. We're showing the Yanks how to make pristine quality leather lounge products. We're exporting to the USA as well. But that's the net effect of being able to enjoy Living Lekker, doing the right things for the right reasons, and being caught out doing all the right things for the right reasons. That's most important. Yeah, so the idea is not to smash this, this nice mood. Welcome. Please enjoy your entire duration at Bravo Brands. We're at your service. The team, Amy and the team, will be there at your beck and call to make your day even more special. We have fantastic an experience for you at the Brand Experience Center, where you can see Living Lekker in action. All right. So thank you very much, Jeremy. Thanks for having us. Thanks for allowing us the chance to host you, and we look forward to having you again in the future. Good. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed. You know, doing the right thing at the right time, that resonates with me. It's all very well to have the proudly South African logo and to slap it on your packaging or your product, but that's not enough. It's also about living the brand authentically, and that's absolutely critical. And I'm absolutely delighted that your suite of brands is doing that, Dave. So thank you, and thank you again for hosting us in this astonishing venue. I'm going to be honest with you. I was driving down Main Reef Road today, and I thought, where am I going? Why am I here? And then I drove past this massive factory, and I thought, are we doing this on the shop floor? And then all of a sudden, I walked into this cinema with the chairs, and it looks absolutely fantastic. So it's good to be here. But it's about doing the right thing at the right time. And let's walk away with that today, folks, as a watchword as far as Proudly South African is concerned. I want to introduce you now to the Chief Executive Officer of Proudly South African, not in the room with us today, but thanks to the wonders of accelerated technology due to the pandemic, he is elsewhere. Eustace Mashimbe is the Chief Executive Officer of Proudly South African. Let me remind you, if I can, of the mandate of this organization. It's a simple one, but it's worth reinforcing. It's to influence local procurement in the public and private sectors, to increase local production, as we see from our hosts today, and to influence consumers to buy local in order to stimulate job creation. I said that at the beginning of our conversation today. And all of this is in line with government's plans to revive South Africa's economy so that millions of jobs can be created and employment can be reduced. You know, I read that, and this is not the first time that I've worked with Proudly South African. I read that every time, and I think to myself, those are lofty goals. You cannot achieve that overnight. But every single day, it's about building to rebuild the economy. And I think that it's wonderful that this organization lives by that ethos. Eustace, welcome to you as we bring you up on the screen behind me. You can tell us where you are or not, entirely up to you, but I know where you are, and I know that you're having a wonderful time. But thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to your own event.
Thank you very much, Jeremy. I'm in the Free State, in a small town called Clarence. It's just the kite is out of the bag now.
We just need to put the sound up. Small, technical, and 3, 2, 1, and go.
Okay. Good day. Good morning. It's still morning. This is what happens when you're out traveling the country. You lose track of time. I'm out in the Free State. So thank you for the opportunity given to me this morning. Thank you to Jeremy, to Dave and his team at Bravo. We appreciate you making available your facility to all of us, to the media in the room, and to everyone else who is like me and is taking advantage of the fact that technology allows us to be part of this occasion without being physically there. So thank you very much to my colleagues at Proudly South African who've made this possible. We appreciate what you've put into this. My role this morning is to take you through the mandate of Proudly South African. You've touched on some of those elements, Jeremy, so I'm going to, breeze through some of them because you have spoken about, some of those important elements around why a campaign like ours exists. But just for the benefit of those who have not had the benefit of coming into contact with Proudly SA literature or having been in presentations where we unpack why we exist, I thought I'll use this opportunity to take all of you through why this campaign exists and what we're all about. We are a buy local campaign, and it's a global phenomenon. It's tried and tested all over the world. And in fact, in developed economies, you even have buy local campaigns in place for small towns, for countries, for regions. And if you look at countries like Australia, the US, UK, and Philippines, they have campaigns that are at the heart of their economic development strategies, or economic growth strategies. And you are also seeing that even in Africa, the principle of growing economies through adopting the ethos of buying local or local procurement is happening in countries like Zambia, Swaziland, Malawi, Zimbabwe, where we have been engaged by the likes of Mauritius and Tunisia in the hope of them setting up their own buy local campaigns. I thought I'll just focus on one only for today as part of a case study around successes seen with buy local campaigns all over the world. The US is a perfect example of where local procurement has been at the heart of their economic strategies. As far back as 1933, they enacted an act known as the Buy American Act. So it's not new to that economy, to that country. And in 1982, they issued what they referred to as the Buy America Act and followed that up with an improvement to that act in 2017. And all these acts and legislations that they put in place are in place to ensure that where they consume any product that they are able to make themselves, that when they make those purchasing decisions, they buy that which comes from within the borders of the US. And the president who came in earlier this year, when he started his new tenure as the president of the US, within the first week of coming into office, he signed into law executive orders strengthening these Buy American provisions to ensure that the federal government purchases locally in instances where whatever is needed is being made in the US. He even had a briefing back in April 2021 to Senate and Congress where he spoke about the importance of localization and local procurement, especially by government, in order for the state to lead the way in ensuring that they can revive the economy and ensure that they can retain and create jobs. You've touched on some of this, Jeremy. You gave us 3 points when you started around why it's important to buy local. I have about 7 points that I've put on my screen, or the 8th one being the issue around balancing, trade, where you increase exports and decrease imports, because when you import products, you're exporting jobs, and that's what we're trying to avoid with this campaign. We have a domestic mandate in that our focus at most times is around ensuring that we get those who buy locally made products within the borders of South Africa, those who buy products within the borders of South Africa choose locally made products because it helps to retain jobs. Let's use a classical example of a Bravo. If Bravo, because we are there, and I'm taking advantage of the fact that you are all sitting on Bravo's chairs and you've seen their beds as you walk through their corridors today, but if no one buys their products, they will not be in a position to can retain the jobs that they were able to create. But as we continue to buy from them, that increased demand for their products will put them in a position where they then need to produce more. And we hope that as companies produce more and the need arises for them to bring in additional people, they will do so. So they will create much needed new jobs within this economy. And that's the biggest benefit of buying locally made products and supporting those who have been brave enough to invest and start businesses and produce that which you consume on a day-to-day basis. I come from a township where if you drive around that township during the week, you will think it's a holiday because most of our people are sitting at home. Some qualified and with qualifications from tertiary institutions, but the lack of jobs has meant that they sit with those qualifications but with no skills at all. So if the likes of Bravo are then in a position to can employ people, those young people who are sitting out in those streets will then get an opportunity to be absorbed by those companies and develop skills. In the process of them taking up those new employment opportunities, they will then acquire skills, and they can then use those skills to then move on to the next entity and the next entity and move up the corporate ladder and decent living for themselves. It contributes to the growth of the economy. If there's sufficient economic activity where the money circulates within the borders of the country, we're able to start seeing the economy grow. If you think of a classical example of any economy where those who are traditional suppliers to the corporates that buy from them, they remain in business. If you're a new entrant and you want to come in, you're always going to battle. And so what this concept of localization does is that it enables new entrants to be given an opportunity. If as Bravo, they make a choice to say as part of their localization drive, they are going to buy raw materials in support of the ethos of buying local, buy raw materials from factories down the road, from entities around them. It means as a new company that starts up and is in a position to can supply to them will then be given an opportunity, because it will no longer just be about that traditional source of supply, which might be supplying imported products, getting an opportunity. Small guys will also come into the space knowing that there are people who've made a commitment to buy local and will support them. As more and more of our people get employed, living standards improve. The living standards of those of us who are in business, who start businesses, our living standards will improve, but those who are employed in those businesses will also get an opportunity to improve. So in the interest of time, I'll then move on to my next slide, which talks about the fact that this country has three main challenges. And the biggest one is unemployment, which breeds poverty. And we are seeing that the gap between the have and the have-not continues to grow in this country. And if you consider the slides that I showed you at the beginning, where I spoke about the fact that buying local is a global phenomenon, you would then bring it back closer to home and think about our country, which battles high levels of unemployment. And that's where Proudly South African becomes critical. We need to ensure that we get as many of our people employed into jobs as possible. So in the context of South Africa, Proudly South African plays that role, where we seek to ensure that those who buy in the private sector, those who buy for the private sector, those who buy for their own households, choose locally made products every time they make purchasing decisions. And our four focus areas are that we are meant to get those who make purchasing decisions in government to buy local, and I have slides that will take you through that quickly, and to ensure that government itself plays by its own rules, because there's legislation in place in government that says if they buy those products that are designated for localization, they're going to buy those products that are made locally. We have to get the private sector to also contribute. It can't just be left to the state and to us as ordinary consumers to buy local, and so we need the private sector to also come to the party. The collective buying that happens within the private sector is big enough to ensure that we can start turning the tide on unemployment. Thirdly, which is part of the reason why we are here today, is we have to educate the general public on the importance of buying local. Consumers have to understand that if you buy a product that comes from China, you're supporting the economy of China. And so just with any other product, the same applies to any other product that comes from anywhere in the world. I'm not just picking on China. It's just an example that is always top of mind when we talk products and that which is consumed by those who buy for their ordinary households. Lastly, as Proudly South African, we have a role of ensuring that we make it easy for those who want to buy local to find those products. We promote accessibility of locally made products and services, whether you're buying for government, whether you're buying for your own small business or big corporate that employs you, or whether you're buying for your own household. Proudly SA's role is to ensure that we find those locally made products, we vet them, ensure that they have a high quality, and we make them available for those of you who want to make purchasing decisions. If you come across a product that carries the Proudly South African logo, you've seen this logo before, especially those of you who are there today. It's well branded and it's all over. You must know that it stands for these 4 key criteria. The first one is the fact that the product itself has to be locally made. The Proudly SA logo is made up of the colors of the flag of the Republic of South Africa, instantly telling you that the product that you are about to purchase is made locally, that the service provider that you are about to support is going to offer you services utilizing equipment and other material that is sourced locally. So you know instantly that you're supporting the economy of the country. And even in instances where raw materials are brought in from outside of the country, or components are brought in from outside of the country because they are not necessarily available in South Africa, what we call for as Proudly South African and through our vetting process we check is that the raw materials or components are transformed into the final product within the borders of South Africa so that jobs are created. Secondly, you see that in the logo there's a tick. The green tick that you see there on my screen tells you that the product is of a high quality nature, and so it will be able to fulfill the need for which it is procured. That is the most important element outside of the fact that the product is locally made. We have 2 other softer issues which talk to the fact that companies that affiliate with us have to treat their workers fairly and comply with the labor legislation of the country. And you spoke about this, Jeremy, around ensuring that we help preserve the environment. The companies that affiliate with us have to help us reduce the carbon footprint by recycling their waste where possible, reusing material, ensuring that they dispose of their waste responsibly, and just ensure that they treat the environment fairly in the course of doing business. I'm going to quickly touch on what we do in the public sector and the private sector, and then focus on what we are here for today, which is the consumer education campaign. In the public sector, which is a government, we have 27 items that government has designated, and what government has said is that if they buy any of these items, they're going to buy them locally. So in the context of what we do as Policy South African, we rely on the fact that those 27 items, we have to look out for those tenders, because when government procures any of these 27 items, they issue tenders or requests for proposals. What we do is we track the tenders. We have a tender monitoring system that ensures that we can pick up every single tender awarded for each of those 27 items. Our role as Policy South African is twofold. In the first instance, we have to identify local manufacturers that have gone through a vetting process that can respond to these tenders, that are able to supply these products. And we then send them the tender so that they can respond. The second role that we have in this regard is we ensure that we then engage the procuring entity. So whatever department or state-owned company that has issued a tender for each of those items, we engage them to ensure that the tender itself will not go to anyone who's going to supply imported items. You know that people do win contracts and tenders from government, and then they go and buy the items from China and elsewhere, and they supply them to government, which takes away the procurement opportunity from local producers. Even if you're a middleman, what we call for is that government must ensure that they buy from you that is going to supply locally made products. And so the role of Policy South African is to ensure that when the tender comes out, it has those provisions that will exclude imported items from being supplied, but also that when they evaluate and adjudicate over the tenders they apply those regulations and appoint companies that are going to supply them with locally made products. And in the private sector, we go out and we look for what we call localization commitments or local procurement commitments, where we ask the private sector to look at their day-to-day consumables, look at instances where they buy raw materials or components or anything that they require for them to run their businesses or to produce their products or render their services, and ensure that they buy them locally. So they identify these items, they ring-fence this for localization. And what we then do is we work with them to ensure that we can find suitable companies that can supply them. We use our database, we rely on the work that we are doing with the DTIC's sector desks, but we also rely on industry bodies to find us the suppliers, to vet them, and ensure that they then live on a portal that we've created that we call the Market Access Platform, where every single entity from these corporates that have given us local procurement commitments, they can go and register themselves. The entities that we find as suitable suppliers can also live on the platform. And every time procurement opportunities come up, the buyers can then go into the system, send those requests for proposals or quotations to those companies that are already on the system, because then they know that whoever is going to respond is going to supply them with locally made products. This ensures that the private sector, based on that which they've identified as local procurement commitments, can then buy those items locally. We've also created portals during this COVID-19 period to ensure that we support the work being done around ramping up production capacity to ensure that as a country, when we respond to this pandemic, we do not respond to the pandemic utilizing items and equipment, etc., that comes from outside of the country. So the PPE that is utilized in medical facilities, etc., can be bought locally, and it can be found on a Proudly SA website. We have a COVID-19 page, and you can easily go there and find the items without necessarily having to place orders outside of the country. In supporting the work that we do around the consumer space, and this is the last bit of my presentation, and then I can hand back to you, Jeremy, is we have then found a way to ensure that those who want to buy local can easily find those locally made products. I mean, they are avid online shoppers who prefer to buy from the comfort of their homes. And they're buying on all sorts of platforms, but the products that are supplied on those platforms are not necessarily coming from South Africa. And what we have done is we have now come up with this. I mean, we've had this online platform for about 3 years now, where every single item sold on rsamade.co.za is locally made by members of Policy South African, vetted, and you can trust that the quality is right according to the industry standards for that specific product. So every time you buy on this platform, you know that you're buying a locally made product and you're supporting the economy of the country. And it's a benefit that we've made available to members of Policy South African, and they do not have to pay any additional fees. Once you're a member, you can list your product on that platform. And you're going to have a conversation, I know, with our Chief Marketing Officer, and those are some of the things that will come up. But just to give you a sense of what we do to drive this consumer education mandate that we have, where we effectively go out and find ways to educate consumers on the importance of buying local and the economic impact of their purchasing decisions. We used to go to malls, we would go to universities, we would go to festivals with high traffic, we would do consumer expos, we run online competitions, we work with the unions. Part of our labor mobilization drive is to utilize shop stewards to hold their own employers accountable, ensure that as a shop steward, you support the factory next to you and that they also support you so that you can retain the jobs in either of the factories. And we are utilizing the relationships we have with the 3 major federations in the country to get to the masses on the ground, but you also get the companies that employ all of these shop stewards to then also introduce a local procurement ethos and principles within their businesses. We rely on sporting events. And there's a lot of consumer advertising that we do as a campaign to ensure that we reach as many South Africans as possible. What happened during 2020 is that as the pandemic hit us, we were already in trouble. Our economy did not necessarily suffer only because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Even before we went into that hard lockdown, we were already in trouble. We had been downgraded by the different rating agencies. We had lost jobs in most of the industries. We had seen that the economy was not growing. In fact, we were already in a recession. And so, as Party South African, we saw that hard lockdown as a moment to pause and reflect. And we used the analogy of a football match. I'm a big football fan. And so this made sense to me that the hard lockdown was the same as halftime. When Chiefs plays Pirates, as an example, I'm going to use those teams and not use my own team. But when Chiefs plays Pirates and one of the teams is not doing well at halftime, the coach is meant to come with better tactics and even introduce new players so that in the second half you come out and do better. And that's what we called for with this campaign. We were saying before we went into the hard lockdown, the economy was already in trouble. Let's use that opportunity to pause and reflect, and so that when we go back, as the economy started opening up and we went into lower levels of restrictions, that it was an opportunity for us to then do things differently, both in the public sector and the private sector, as well as ordinary consumers, and start buying local and contributing to the creation of the jobs that we all need. We all know someone is unemployed, all of us. And we have an opportunity through our purchasing decisions to ensure that as the economy continues to open up, we ensure that those people who have jobs can stay in those jobs, but then possibilities are created for additional people to be absorbed into jobs. I'm going to play the Game Time campaign, which we then rolled out after the hard lockdown. We launched this in August 2020, and we are again taking it back onto various broadcast platforms as of the end of September. And for those of you who have seen the campaign, I hope it resonates with you. You find resonance with what we are calling for. And for those of you who have not yet seen the campaign, please pay attention to the messages delivered by the president in our ad and adhere to the call to action.
The second half is about to begin. We need to change the scoreboard. It's time for all of us to pause and rethink the game plan in order to save the future. I call on all of us to be game changers, because greatness isn't reserved only for some people. By buying local, we're choosing to create jobs and sustain the ones we have. Time and time again, South Africans have taken destiny into their own hands, creating products that the rest of the world wanted to buy. See, the world remembers about us what we sometimes forget, but it's time for change. Let's all buy local. It's game time. Zanzi.
Local is Lekker.
Your everyday decisions shape our future.
The King of Uganda has spoken, the president in this instance, in our ad, and we asked that you respond to the call to action, which is buy local to create jobs. Your everyday decisions do shape our future. And so what we are doing today is continuing on this path that you see when this board that appointed me came in 2016, and I got appointed together with this executive team that I work with. we started a trajectory to revive the campaign and to take it on a pathway to be able to deliver on its mandate, such that the economy benefits. Where we are is we are where the economy needs to recover, and the economic recovery and the construction plan talks to that. And in fact, it has localization and local procurement at the heart of what needs to be done. What we want to do over the next 3 to 5 years, which we're in year 2 now, we're in the first year, in fact, we're going to the second year of that 3 to 5 year plan, is to ensure that we continue to start making it easy for consumers to understand what is required. And today, that's what we're trying to do. That over the next 3 to 5 years, a campaign similar to what you're going to see today, the Living Lekker Locally campaign, which basically talks to what we want consumers to look out for, what we want consumers to do when it's time for them to make purchasing decisions, is part of this journey. Over the next 3 to 5 years, the idea is to ensure that every single South African at some point hears this message and understands what it is that is expected of them. And so I'm not going to steal the thunder from those who are meant to launch the campaign and officially introduce you to the ethos and values that are espoused by that which is contained in the actual campaign, which is what our Chief Marketing Officer is going to do in the conversation with you, Jeremy. But for those who want to join Proudly South African, who are not necessarily members and want to be part of this campaign, this movement, write to us, info@proudlysa.co.za. Follow us on social media. I work with someone who says we don't know where we're going, but follow us on Twitter @ProudlySA, on Facebook, Proudly South African, and on Instagram @proudly.sa. We're also on LinkedIn. And basically, that's what Proudly South African is about. Jeremy, I hope that the audience gets a better sense, especially those who are not familiar with Proudly South African. They have a better sense of what the strategy entails, and that there's a method to this madness that you're going to see today, that it comes from a journey that started with a new board coming in, a new strategy being developed for the campaign, and that as we move on to the next phase of ensuring that this campaign achieves what it was formed for, that there are campaigns that can resonate with every single one of us so that we can respond to this call to action of asking South Africans to buy local to create jobs. Thank you very much.
Eustace, thank you very much indeed. Your presentation made absolute sense, but there's one area of confusion that I've got to clear up with you. So I'm just looking, and your team at the moment is top of the log, 2-0 against Pirates, 3-0 against Golden Arrows. You've got an easy game this Saturday. Why didn't you just name Sundowns? I don't understand.
Because I've been accused in the past of being too biased, But the team is good. The team is good, and I think the results speak for themselves. So I think the time for me to punt them all the time has stopped. The results are speaking for themselves. 9 years on, Jeremy. 9 consecutive years where we are untouchable.
Spoken like a true fan. Eustace, thank you very much indeed, and we'll leave it there. To be serious for a moment, the presentation makes perfect sense when we look at it now. The challenge, I would suggest to all of us, those of us who are buying Proudly South African and who have the products and services, it's one of sustainability, it's one of regularity. It's not falling back and going the easy route. Also is incumbent on us sometimes to do a little bit of work, is that we're looking for something, particularly online, and it's easy to go to some of the big sites. Try and recalibrate a little bit and say, should I be buying local? It does require a little bit of work from us. You know, one of the things that statistics does for everyone, and particularly someone in my position, is that you can bend a statistic any way you want to suit your purpose. So there was a recent statistic that I reported on which said that 60% of South Africans were worried, they were depressed, they were anxious, and they were concerned. Yeah, makes sense. There's another survey that says 75% of us still have a degree of optimism. So somewhere in the middle, okay, I guess is where the truth is. But I think it's true to say that living in South Africa right now can be difficult at times. Let's be honest, we're all friends here. It can be trying. But we're also a nation, I think, that knows how to laugh, mostly at each other, which I think is a good thing. I want to introduce you to Sbw Twala. He's also known as Ditsebe.com. Much younger than I am. When you put .com next to your name, you know that there's a big generation gap. He is a young man. He is a prolific comedian, and he is an entertainer. He's from Vosloorus. But he also tells me that he is a comedian with a difference. So many comedians will pepper their material with profanity, with bad language, and they know no limits, he says, to their jokes. He comes at it from a different perspective. He talks to Christian audiences with his stand-up skits. He jokes for Jesus, he tells us. He's also a proud South African. Welcome. Don't upset the Catholics. Don't upset the Anglicans. Don't upset the Methodists. I could go on and on. The stage is yours.
Thank you, Tacheri. That's how we greet a cast. Sure, Tacheri. Fellow South Africans. Oh, sorry. Hi, guys. How are you doing? My name is Sbw Twala, a.k.a. Ditsebe.com. If you are Sotho, you know what Ditsebe means. It means ears. You can clap for my ears. They are outstretched. I know, yes. Like proudly South African multi-choice, DSTV. DSTV simply means Ditsebe satellite television. So I'm excited. When my mom was carrying me 9 months, apparently she was walking sideways because my ears were dropping suspension in the belly. So the aim is just to say to you, appreciate yourself the way you are. There's some people here who are just skinny. When you go to the scale will say next. But there's others of us who are just a bit bulgy. When you go to the scale will say, I can't take it, one person at a time. So the same aim is just to say, appreciate yourself the way you are. God has a purpose why you're doing what you're doing. I'm excited to be here. Thank you to Proudly South African, born and bred in Vosloorus. Vosloorus, yes. I thought maybe you guys, Tacheri, you would just introduce me with the song by Sharon D. Hey, Lekker, but it's fine. Or even Magesh for that matter. Hey, I'm a proud South African. Hey, I'm going to say what I'm about to say. Course I can. Ladies and gentlemen, I am excited. I've been consuming proudly South African brands for quite a while now. When I was just little growing up, you know, our parents, in Kasi we have goals. Our parents, their goal is that as soon as they are done taking a package, they are going to extend the house. So if a front opposite has got stuff like build it and all that, they would not come there. They will just leave your sand. They will just leave the stones. And then Tsepo would come in there as Ditsebe.com, taking the brick. So I've been consuming and I've been driving the BMW X3. Clap for me. Yimilo. It's exciting to be South African, as Tacheri has mentioned. Indeed, I consume a lot of stuff. I'm a Christian, and it's not a problem, but it's so good to be Christian because you can do whatever that you can. It's said that Bushiri has left, so we don't have much stuff now. I'm going to have an off chat with Tacheri here. He's in the media space. He will tell us how did he leave the country, you know. Yeah, but it's just said that, guys, somebody will come to you and just predict your 13 digits, a.k.a. your green book ID numbers, and you call that prophecy. Yeah, it's very sad. Warren, it's very, very sad. But no, what I would like to say is that it's very nice to be South African. This morning I just woke up, I had my coffee. Hey, man, it's so nice to have coffee. Whereas the Kasi people consume rooibos, which is mainly used for prayer and fasting. Yeah. I'm sure you can attest. Ne? Yeah, you're on fasting, I can tell. Yeah. When I say rooibos, she just no, please. We are in a formal setup. I don't want you to be spinning out with tongues now. Ruka, Korobanda, Rikofi. No. Just relax and all that. I had my coffee and I was coming here. You're coming here. It's so good to have so many people coming here. I was received very well, you know. I just love my brother, Tacheri. Tacheri, you're on point. Yeah, I love it when you do your show and you put your glasses here. This is me. Coffee. Please show Hewlett's for me. That's my stuff. I loved the song. Nature gives us energy. Aye, a sugar doom, doom. Shit. You still remember that? Yeah, that's how we used to do it. Yeah, that's the NH. You keep it going, because being South African, it's a very nice thing. I know it's sometimes difficult. You know, people love big brands. You know, people love the big brand like LV. I will not tell you what it means. It means love. They love LV, you know. But let's consume proudly South African brand, because minanguye kasi. It's so nice to be kasi, you know. You can see other people are coming in here. These are some of the things that I've observed when I'm in church. There's what we call humility. And people come in late. And when they're supposed to sit in the front, then they come doing this. And you think you are humble. No, you are not humble. You are late. Let's address that very same thing. So we are sitting here on the VIP section. Hi, mommy, with your black and white. I was just disappointed with the CEO. There's only one team in South Africa. It's Orlando Pirates and the rest. Yeah, simply because the very same Pirates, no. The very same Pirates is credited in the Bible. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, God said to Hezekiah, do you believe that these dry bones can live? And the dry bones, they lived. Because I was there with the cave. Yeah, it's so nice. So Kaizer Chiefs is only credited twice in the Bible, and then that's it. And only the ZV Bible, which is the Zulu version of the Bible. Amakhosi wokuqala namakhosi wesi-2. That's it. As for Mamelodi Sundowns, there's nothing. The Bible just speaks about the heavens. They are just the sky. So I'm saying to all the Buccaneers, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. I'm excited that I came here. I saw Sihle's coffee. It's so nice. You know, coffee in this thing that you wake up in the morning and say, wake up and open the sky and say, hey, it's so nice. But I guess coffee was just luxury. Maupuzi coffee. Yo, we worship you and say, hey, I want to be your friend. You consume coffee. Yo. Because we used to grow up ngamakabi. And my friends would see me there trying to make sure that it's not that cold and whatnot. But today, we are wearing coffee, or we are drinking coffee. Thank you to Proudly South African. You can clap for that. Oh, yes, it's exciting. Different people come from different walks of life, and even they come to church. I think when I was born again in a tent. You know, Tajeri, if you've never been to a township church, you are missing out. You know, our white brothers, when they do church, it's simple. The structure, 10 o'clock is this. The pastor would come there, 1 or 2 choruses. It's not even a chorus, it's a hymn book. Mary had a little lamb, little lamb, little lamb. Mary had a little lamb. Oh, Mary, thank you. Then the pastor will just ascend. You need to be compassionate. You need to have love. Love your neighbor. It is so nice to love your neighbor. Let's be compassionate. Love one another. Agenda. Come to the township church.
Less than 1 hour.
Less than 1 hour. For us, 1 hour, we are still warming up. No, we are still warming up. It's just a sound check. The keyboard guy, the guitar guy, no, I can't hear myself. Oh, the pastor, I don't know if there's any pastors here. With my gift of the gag, I've come to observe that pastors are also human. They do lie on the pulpit. Because when they have their sermon here, they will end their sermon in 4 ways. He says, as I finish, as I conclude, lastly, in conclusion, lying. So when you go to a black church, we don't have hymns, we have choruses. I'm so glad that I'm wearing this type of a jacket. These jackets in black churches, they trend. Because this is a air passage. It is supposed to help you when you are getting sweaty during the time of the chorus. Which by then you are seated. In fact, you are making your way to the mall with your family. We are only starting 1 chorus. You'll see this lady. And this lady doing the round thing. Wosa. If you haven't been to township, then you have not experienced the Proudly South African gassing. Because after then the pastor would ascend. 3 hours later, pastor would come here. And we have that moment, Tajir, where we take out the demons. Ha! Woo! I'm telling you, that time. Now, demons are very silly. If you don't know your story, they will answer you back. So one time I was there observing a church. The pastor says to the demon, "Come out." Demon looked at him. Say, "Come out." Demon looked at him. Said, "Fire and ice." And he said, "No, I won't come out. That's a perfume."
Thank you. God bless you. Folks, Proudly South African is not just about products and services, as we've just shown you. It's also about talent. This is the most astonishing country when it comes to talent, discovered and undiscovered. And I would also ask you, as you recommit to the Proudly South African journey, that we recognize talent, such as we've just seen, and that we support talent like that. And I know how hard hit over the past 18 months the entertainment industry has been. So, Tepo, thank you very much indeed. You've got another set for us when we draw to an end a little bit later. Folks, I want to move on to the campaign itself now, the raison d'etre as to why we're here today. Happy Ngidi is with us, the Chief Marketing Officer of Proudly South African, and she's being mic'd up, taking her mask off, and joining me on the stage. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Tajiri.
Okay, I'm so honored. Do you support Sundowns as well?
No.
Okay, thanks for telling me that he supported Sundowns.
Now you've just, you're telling on me. Me, I'm a loving peace person, love and peace.
Do you, before we get to the campaign itself, do you think the COVID-19 pandemic in any way has changed the way in which people think about South African goods and services? We've had a lot of time at home. Those of us who have data have been able to do more shopping online. Is there a move, I wonder, in that direction?
There is, you know, because we didn't have much of a choice, did we? Particularly during hard lockdown. All we had was our locally made, hopefully, smartphones. And we were online shopping and also just keeping in touch in the absence of us visiting friends or going to work and all of that. We had to somewhat survive. So yes, a lot of shopping online for those that could afford, you know, the product and or data. Yeah, and as Proudly South African, we couldn't ignore that reality. And hence RSA made our online platform, which was launched, by the way, you know, long before COVID. Yeah, so I would say that you know, the pandemic forced us to rethink our loyalty to South African products in the absence of imports that came in, and we kind of like did survive. We did.
Sorry, to the lady at the back there who's fallen asleep on the lazy boy. I can see you. Okay, no James Bond movie for you. Huh? Happy, before we get to the campaign itself, one of the pillars that Eustace mentioned, and it's something that is always a hurdle, it's an obstacle when it comes to the Proudly South African notion, is people say, yeah, I'd like to do it, but I question the quality.
Yes.
Are we starting to win that debate, do you think?
You know, I think it's particularly in the last year or so, we have seen the movement where South Africans are starting to change their mindset. It's a mindset thing. But I think we see a clear movement, you know, as a result of our efforts. That can never be enough, by the way. It's not going to take only Proudly South African to spread the narrative. It takes a collective, you know, it takes us as a people. But we've seen it. We've seen many local brands that have surfaced. Great local brands, sneaker brands, you know, drinks, clothing. We've seen the other soccer team, which I will not mention, buying sneaker brands, you know, that is locally made, and they were flaunting their stuff and making an appearance somewhere. We've seen Diboke. You know, the official blazer is made locally. We've seen the sporting code kind of like slowly, you know, shifting the focus. But we've seen people in general. In fact, we've
A great story about the veldskoens that were the South African Olympic team wore.
well, yes, though we all know the story, what happened, but it's a great story. It's a great local brand that was showcased at that platform. You know, we've seen all of that. We've seen, in fact, we've just finished a clothing, textile, leather, footwear industry campaign that was so well received by the consumers, called a local fashion police, where we're trying to showcase to South Africans that every day can be a special day. Whether you buy your clothes at Mr. Price or Fushini, or down the road from a lady that makes clothes, or from local well-known designers, we can all actively do it. You know, and we see that that is so well received. But also quickly, you know, not so long ago, we did a joint research with our sister company, or, you know, cousin, we call them Brand SA, and we were talking to South Africans to kind of like find out, you know, what their view is about local, buying local and supporting local. Yes, you will have that uncle and that auntie who says, I'm not interested, but you will have, you know, South Africans who say, if I understood the economic impact it has when I make a local purchasing decision, I'll do it. Even if the product is slightly expensive, so to speak, than a product that has been brought into the country, I will gladly do it.
As you rightly say, it is a shift in mindset, and the point that I made earlier, we could all buy into the gospel right now, but the reality is that in 2 weeks' time, when we want to go and buy something, we've got to remember what you're saying, and that's another big challenge that probably South African has, is to make sure that the philosophy is entrenched. Let's get to the campaign itself for Living Lekker Locally. Why now? What's informed it?
What's informed it speaks to what the CEO shared with us earlier on, that when the new board was, you know, came into place at Proudly South African, with a new executive, if you like, and strategy, and you know, in line with our mandate, that we have to get to a point where every South African, wherever they may be in the country, when they hear buy local, they take ownership of it. Buying local can be as simple as buying flip-flops, you know, a loaf of bread from, you know, down the road from a spaza shop, to big ticket items, you know, and as much as we work with the private sector and the public sector, all of us, when we go home, ultimately, we are consumers. Every one of us has to buy something every day, and hence our focus is on consumer education. So with this campaign, we had to find a way, from a marketing perspective, a simple way to finally get to South Africans and say to them, when we say local is lekker, and when we say that each and every one of us can do it every day, this is what we mean. We had to find a relatable way that anybody can resonate with. That when we say local is lekker, we're not saying that because, shame, you know, let's feel sorry for ourselves. We say that because we've got...
This is not a pity narrative at all.
No, it's not a pity narrative at all. And this is the mindset of, like, you know, CEO alluded to this earlier on, that the buy local ethos is a tried and tested method the world over. Americans will tell you that their cheeseburger is the best in the world. You know, when they open up a franchise in South Africa, we all queue, well, South Africans queue from 5 o'clock in the morning to try and go test their brand. But if Sisha's
Have you
coffee...
ever had a cheeseburger at 5 in the morning?
No.
Have you ever needed a cheeseburger at 5 in the morning?
No, but I know people who have done that.
Let's talk about Sisha's coffee, though, because draw the dichotomy. It's important.
Absolutely. So Sisha's coffee, incredible barista, local. He is a guy who has no sense of entitlement. just a hard-working dude who understands that the private sector is not going to absorb all of us into that space. So therefore, he was very mindful of the fact that what am I going to do for myself as an individual, and what am I going to do for other people? And I have a love for coffee. You know, unlike what Sepo says, he says black people don't listen. Dude, speak for yourself. Me and Sihle, we drink coffee. We are within. You know, so here's Sihle, who, by the way, when he started with us close to 5 years ago, he was a hustler, and he still remains. In fact, I have the utmost respect for
entrepreneurs. Have to be hustlers.
They've got to be hustlers, and today he's you know enjoys shelf space in retail stores, you know, amongst the best coffees in the world. But most importantly, he has got people that he employs that he is responsible for, but also it's a livelihood. Outside of the people that he works with, there's livelihoods. Some of the 6 people that are in his employ are breadwinners in the context of South African, you know, where they take care of many, many people behind the scenes. He has a beautiful South African story. And we don't like Sihle and many other coffee makers that are associated with us because we think, we like them because they're really good brands.
And it's not just that story, that is, guys, if we can just keep the cell phones down. It's not just that story, but when we walk out into the foyer a bit later, there are lots of stands of other South African brands that have shared similar experiences. The one thing that all of them have an understanding of is that they understand the notion, the power, and the importance of having a brand.
Absolutely.
And that's critical.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's about hustling as an entrepreneur. It's about putting in the long hours. It's about understanding that you're doing it for the greater good, but it's also about understanding the notion of the brand. Let's get back to the campaign. What's the narrative, and what are the touch points of the campaign?
The narrative, very simple. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. We are just saying to South Africans, it tells a story, a very quick story of somebody who gets up from their bed in the morning, goes about their thing, their life throughout the day, and right up until they get back to bed in the evening. In the course of doing all of this, we all consume something. All of us. We consume something. And I think, you know, it was more driven by that, to say to South Africa, it's so simple that we all do it anyway, but it takes us as a campaign to remind South Africans and to educate them in an entertaining way, by the way, because in our new strategy to you know, jazz up the campaign, we sell it as a lifestyle to the public because we all can relate to that. It's about, so the narrative of the campaign that you're just about to see, Living Lekker locally, it's about somebody getting up in the bed that is made locally, which is, and we feature, bravo. You go to your bathroom, you have to bath. Those products that you use there are all local. You then go and choose your outfit for the day. You know, we've got to wear something. All local. You go to the kitchen for breakfast, cup of coffee, local. Cereal, local. Everything in the kitchen, local. You know, as parents with kids, you prepare lunch boxes, all of it local. You get into your car, there's a locally manufactured, assembled car that we, you know, use, but there's a bigger percentage of South Africans who contribute to the economy of the country. They can't afford to buy their own personal cars. The Sbw taxi, made locally. And then, you know, there's another LSM that, you know, has a little bit of money. They can buy any other car, and this is why we have the BMW X3 parked outside, which is locally made.
Don't go so fast.
Okay, I mustn't go so fast. Okay, let me take
Don't go so fast.
But you can see how excited
I want to talk about the car.
Okay.
I arrived today
Okay.
and I was amazed. What is it doing there? What's the purpose? Is it yours? Can I drive it? Can I borrow it?
So I did drive it, but it's not mine. So that's a BMW X3 that we South Africans BMW assembles in Roslyn. The perception has always been when we see a Beamer on the road, we assume that it's been brought into the country. We make it, guys. The car that is downstairs here today is made locally. In fact, I had the pleasure a few weeks ago during Women's Month, we spoke to different industries and hosted women in leadership in different industries. And one of those industries was the automotive industry. I met a lady who is the Makulubas head honcho at the Rosalind plant. Her name is Ntabi Singh, who takes care of 600 people in that plant, the people that make that car downstairs, who has been with BMW and has worked her way up, for about 15 years. And in fact, and she's from the community, she's from Attridgeville. And she says, in fact, she's got a beautiful story to tell very briefly. She says, when she was a young person, she's one of 3 siblings, 2 brothers. And they used to play with the wire cars. We'll know the wire cars. I feel like I want to pick on you, because you pick on other people. You played where you look like the guy who ran the dusty streets of the township.
He's a young man.
He
still plays with them.
I was a manufacturer.
And Tabi Singh says she used to, at that age, when a little girl, she used to, make those cars. And her wire car used to be the most popular and the most, more than her brothers. And this is how she ends up making an X3, guys, that we sell to the world. It's a really lovely story. And there it is today for us to see and really get to appreciate.
So when we leave later on today, just have a look at it and just stroke it gently. It's gorgeous. I want us in just a moment, you're going to set up a Living Lekker locally reel for us, but just a quick answer. Going forward, your challenge is to turn the campaign into a more sustainable movement, or to at least reignite a movement that exists. That's also important, and it's not easy. It's a journey. Starts now. Starts today.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And it's not. And ideally, what you would like to see for this kind of campaign, because this campaign does not seek to make us, at Proudly South African look good. It seeks to make a difference in the lives of ordinary South Africans. We all know that we all know somebody, whether they're close to us, it may be a neighbor, a spouse, a sibling, an ex-colleague who's actively looking for a job today, guys. That's how hectic unemployment is, and Eustace alluded to that. So when we support and we do the right thing and we respond positively to the call to action, which is buy local and support local, buy all of these brands. And be conscious when you go to a retail store and you look at and choose a product that will have our logo or it's written made in South Africa.
As I said, it does require a bit of work. You've got to do it.
It does. But it's not going to, it'll take much more than just the efforts of Proudly South Africa. Ideally, for a movement such as this, you need big brands. Big brands to support the movement, because those of you who are in marketing space would know that to be on television every night, prime time we call it, for us, the message to be on radio every time you get into your car and it's about buy local, Proudly South African, this. When you drive on the freeway, the billboard, that requires huge marketing budgets, which we don't have. With the little budgets we have, we do all sorts of things and partnerships work for us. So it needs the likes of the Sassels of this world, Coca-Colas, Clover, Hewlett, Salati, Albany, Ace Millimil, all of these brands that we consume that survive because South Africans like you and I support those consumables every day to walk the journey with us, to hold hands and say, in the best interest of our economy as a people, we need to ensure that we have a bigger appreciation of what the Buy Local campaign seeks to achieve, to be able to create more jobs that we need, to be able to ensure that, for us, a loss of one job is one job too many, because then you can't even begin to deal with the social ills, because, we know that when you come across somebody who's hungry, you don't want to be in a situation like that where people have to do anything to try and survive. So for us to start dealing with the social ills, we need to ensure that my brother, your sister, your aunt, my uncle, everybody, neighbor, you know, they've got access to being able to make a living, and it takes localization. It honestly takes localization to make a
And
difference.
we might all be asking ourselves what we can do in that respect, and it's very easy. Two things. One is we do what you're asking us to do and buy local. The other is to talk about it. So if you've experienced a good local product, there's nothing more powerful in marketing than word of mouth. We've got a reel now. I want you to set this up for us. What are we going to see?
So we have a reel that will take you through and it's not a lengthy story because we don't want to complicate anything. It's really very simple. We're going to see that it takes you through a life of a single individual in South Africa, but we will all relate to it. Getting up in the morning to pressing the alarm system at night, going back to bed, and what happens during the course of the day. And after we see that, we can unpack it a little further again.
So living lekker locally. Let's roll the tape.
It's morning already? Okay, let's do this live thing. It's morning already? Okay, let's do this live thing. Okay, forgot to unpack my new Sheet Street fleece last night. Can't wait to use it tonight. I must say, it's not always easy to get ready for work, but every time I step into the bathroom, my bathroom lightens my morning because everything in my bathroom is locally made. I mean, can you believe CTM makes the stunning beauty of a bathtub right here in South Africa? Now for the hard part. Choosing what to wear. It's Friday. Definitely this casual piece along with my fave shoes from Mr. Price. Or will it be plus fab today? Cheaper with sneakers? So great to know I have so many choices. And perhaps I should go with my jewelry from NQ Jewelers to complement my outfit. Tsepo needs to start polishing his own shoes now. I mean, he's in grade 3. He must set a good example for his baby sister. And oh, he needs to start packing his school bag too. On that note, let me make sure her food is ready so Daddy can feed her. Okay, 15 minutes left. Now for a good cup of coffee and a little breakfast to get me ready for the day. The only challenge with being a working mother is that you think about everyone and everything. I wonder if Aus Mavis has arrived so she can take care of my baby. Hubby really wanted to clean the garden and pool and at least start painting one of the walls. He also promised to go window shopping for those amazing DeFi products I want for our new home. I wonder if he'll do all that today, but I'm sure he'll stop over for a local cup of pick-me-up. And by the way, that X3 is also made locally. Local is truly lekker. Let's get to it.
The Disky Challenge is back for the 2021 season.
Need to book the boss's flight for that garden route tour he needs to take his clients on. Can't wait to cook hubby's favorite meal when I get home. I just love cooking. It has been a long day, therefore a quick meal will be ideal. Some chicken and veggies it is. We'll down that with wine and beer. Yummy. I can hardly wait. And of course, my favorite part of the day, a nightcap. Stay safe. Good night, South Africa. Buy local to create jobs. This is our call to action.
And I think we get a sense of just how deep and long the value chain is. and it's surprising, which is important. We're going to take a few questions in a while. I just want to recognize a couple of people online. So first of all, Dave Govender, our host today here at Bravo, from one proudly South African to another. Bravo Brands delighted to host the event and that you've chosen our facilities to launch the campaign. We love being here. Lady in the back, I can see you've fallen asleep again. Be
She's
careful.
not awake.
She's not, she's
Not
fast
yet.
asleep. This is via Facebook from Antoni Dirk from Philip, I think.
Yeah.
Consumers need to be aware of the importance of purchasing from shops and suppliers owned by local citizens. That's what we've been saying. And here's someone getting a punt in for their brand. As South Africans, we can all participate in creating jobs and reviving the country's economy by buying local and supporting small businesses. Why not buy Drip Footwear? Good for you, Drip Footwear. Stealing a march there, coming in and talking to us. Folks, what I'm going to do, Happy, I'm going to leave it there for the moment because I want to introduce our next guest, and then I'll invite you up just to answer a few questions from the audience if there are, and then Tepo, stand by off your cell phone, please. You know, these millennials, it's unbelievable.
And in the reel,
Yeah.
somebody told him to learn to fasten his shoes.
Shoes, yeah.
Yeah. Can
So,
you fasten your
yeah.
shoes?
Isn't it nice getting back at the comedian? It's fun, isn't it? Okay. Folks, Happy, we'll talk to you in just a moment. And folks, we'll any questions that you've got for Proudly South African in just a moment, we'll get to you. I think one of the reasons why I'm here today, apart from the fact that I'm just charming and delightful and old, I've been watching brands and the brand communication industry for over 30 years now. And there's nothing that I like more than a success story. Every single brand out there that you'll have a look at is a success story. They're working hard every single day. But if that success story involves wine, all the better as far as I'm concerned. Sbw is the founder of Sbw Wines, and here she is now. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Her love and appreciation for the finer things in life, don't we all love the finer things in life, led her, she says, to introduce this vintage brand, and she believes that life has to be enjoyed, and most definitely a glass of bubbly is a good companion for every occasion. Why is that? Well, it ignites the happiness and celebratory mode to all the lovers of life. And that which it has to offer. Another proudly South African. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about your brand.
Thank you, Jeremy.
And feel free to walk around if you want to, whatever you're most comfortable there.
Okay. You know, as a country, we've been through a lot, whether it's personal or otherwise, emotionally, psychologically or otherwise. But I think my brand has been introduced to celebrate each and every little achievement that we want. It's more about... Oh, okay. My apologies.
Because she's very shy and retiring. Okay.
I'm so good at it.
So you're going to have to really project.
All right.
Okay.
So my brand...
Is that okay?
Is that okay now?
Good. Okay.
All right. My brand, Sbw...
Oh, you've woken the lady up there.
Oh, so... Yeah, we're talking about beverages. She has to be out.
Start talking about booze and everyone's awake. Keep going. Okay.
So the brand Sbw Wines is all about serving the people with good quality and vintage MCC. We specialize on MCC basically because we feel like everyone needs to celebrate his or her little achievements. And one of our first brand that we released, it's called Sia. It's not Sia, my name. It's Sia, which is captured from who we are as a country. When we started it, we brainstormed and we come up with the word Sia Kuba, which means we are going forward as a country. So it's more about collaborative action as a country. So Sia, it can be used in any form, and our slogan is that Sia Indulge, which means we are indulging. And basically, as local producers, I think we have to celebrate. So Sia Celebrator, Sia Succeed as a country. We are going forward. We are doing things for ourselves. So that's what this Sia is all about. It's what we do as a collaborative. And the first one that we released the 2016. It is so unfortunate that we released it at the wrong time, which is 2016, because we didn't release it with a bang that we wanted. But at least there are people who tasted it, and they feel that it's what they like, and it's what they would indulge in when they are having their own special moments. It's more of vintage, like I said earlier on, because it has been on the list for 5 years. Our first release was in 2016. Fortunately for us, I don't know how we did it, because we had about 1,500 bottles that we released as we were testing the market. All the 2016 bottles were sold out. Now we are on a 2017. It's a blend. What it's made up of, it's a blended, it's blended grapes. It's a Chardonnay, it's a mixture of Chardonnay and Pinot Noir, which has been harvested in the Cape. We've got...
Carry on, sorry.
Okay. We have it made locally in the Cape. Everything is done in the Cape, from the fermentation, the degorgement process, the bottling, the label, and yeah, and here is it, and I'm hoping that you guys are going to enjoy it.
One of the things that you raised, Happy, and I know it comes from a good place in your heart, is that any entrepreneur has to be a hustler. And it's true. When you started out doing this, how did you hustle? How difficult was it?
It was difficult because in as much as we have a number of MCCs, I was specific in terms of the type and the quality that I want, and I wanted a vintage. I wanted to produce anything from 3 years above, not anything that has been below. So I struggled in getting the wine producer that focuses on the vintage, and I did. And I think other thing that I struggled with was with funding, but which I happened to have an alternative on how to deal with. But I think the major, it was finding the producer and also funding.
Mm. And being a woman? Difficult? Did you have to break through a very hard male grape curtain?
Besides being a wine producer, I have other professions that I'm involved in, and I have been in a situation where I have to face the challenges of being a woman. And I think I've fought that battle long enough that I didn't struggle that much.
It's a great answer.
Good.
It's a great answer. One of the subjects that you and I touched on, Happy, was the perception of quality. Is that people see it as something which is local, and they say, well, you know, maybe getting something from France is better. How do you deal with that?
When I started introducing it to people, and they first would ask me, why this price? And I'm saying it's a vintage. And they would ask me, what's a vintage? And I and I try and explain to them that when we're doing MCC, people have got this perception that when we're doing MCC, we're doing something completely different from the champagne. It's the same process. Everything is fermented in a bottle, but it's just that we cannot use the word because wine is based on a geography, on an area. So the champagne is just that it is made in France in a Champagne region. MCC is the name and it's reserved. MCC is the name that we can use here locally, but the process is still the same. So when people try and understand to me why my price, why I start on a vintage, that is a vintage, and then they would ask me why a vintage, and I would ask them, what's your favorite champagne? And they would bring me the favorite champagne. I would put my champagne, and I would put the one that they want, because I usually carry the variety. And I would first ask them, do you see a vintage in this bottle? I'm not going to mention the product, and they would know. They would then start picking up the difference because of this vintage. And second question that I asked, do you see the word vintage? For that word vintage to appear in a bottle, there's a certain process that one has got to go through and to be approved of. Number two, do you see a year on this bottle? Because some bottles, they are being produced and there is no year. And I think it only dawns on them that actually we have been robbed, because we were looking at some foreign products thinking that they are best, but we do have our best.
It's a great story. And in front of witnesses, I'll make a commitment to you. My younger daughter has just graduated from university. The graduation ceremony is in early December. I will make sure that we toast that graduation with your product, and I will tweet it. Great local story. Okay.
Thank you.
Isn't that great? Questions? Are you ready? Have you got to? Is the second act more difficult? than the first date. It always is. There's an enormous amount of pressure on you now. So we'll give you another 5 minutes or so just to kind of get into the spirit. Happy, do you want to join me? Thank you very much indeed, sir. Happy, I'm not sure. So are there any questions from our audience? I see one at the back. We'll engage for about 5 minutes or so, and then I'm going to ask you to come back.
All right. And I also have to pay the bills,
Yeah.
Jeremy. Yeah. Partnership. Will we do that after
We'll do
TEPO?
that. We'll do that after,
Okay.
after
All right.
TEPO. I
Just in case.
understand that.
You
because
understand that.
It's important that we pay the
Okay.
bills.
We have to pay the bills.
Lady at the back. Hi.
Khotso Makumalo and Dajeri, as Sbw.com said. My name is Shwe. I am from Voice of Vets. I think what you said, Makumalo, was very profound. That not only we need partnerships, we need partners to drive this buy local. And I'd like to raise my hand and commit Voice of Vets. We are a campus-based community radio station to say that we will partner with you to do buy local campaigns on the university campuses in Braamfontein and in our broadcast areas. And we can find a way of how we can make the partnership work. I think what's very important...
I think we need to clap for you.
And what I would also say to you is throw down the challenge to Tux FM and everybody else. And see if they can do it too.
Yes.
Okay.
All of the other campus stations across the country, here's an opportunity for us to bring our student and young professional market into understanding the importance of buying local. I think when the CEO said that if you drive around the streets and you see so many people, it feels like a holiday, that touched me because so much can happen when people have nothing to do. So if this is something that we can do in fighting this high unemployment, I'd like for us to be a part of this. And I'll definitely be in touch with my colleagues with other campus radio stations to see if we can make and how we can make this work rather.
Sure, may I just say something? GCIS is here in the building. May we join hands? GCIS? Perfect.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Don't you love it when you see networking in action? Look at that. And can I also just say, as a veteran of the radio industry, Voice of Vets, I think you guys are doing a great job. It is a premier campus radio station. Remind us of the frequency again?
88.1.
88.1 on your way home, everybody. If you're driving that BMW, 88.1. Okay.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Okay.
Sir.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Daisy Moleko. I'm in a different space of farming. I farm with rabbits. I sell rabbit meat. I would love to be part of the proudly South African. So I want to know what's the process and how we do it, because we started 20 years ago doing it our own, doing it in our own space of farming. We farm, we slaughter, we even package, and then we even serve the meat. I'm also a chef in my own space.
How popular is rabbit meat in South Africa right now?
Pardon?
How popular is it?
It's starting to be popular because we're trying to introduce it to our society. It's a very lean and healthy meat.
Yes.
And you found that we are very few farmers in South Africa that are doing it commercially. So I'm one of the women who's doing it commercially in South Africa.
Wow.
So
I was unaware that there was even a fledgling industry as far as that's concerned.
And there is a huge market because every time when we sell our meat, we have a shop that sells our meat in Vilagazi Street, the box shop. When they taste, they actually buy. Because we will sell about 20 rabbits in a day. And the aim was to introduce it, you know, to say to people, taste it, it's a good meat, it's a nice meat.
Yeah.
Because I saw meat, but very few meat, chicken. So we want to not exactly compete with them, but to work together with the chicken industry.
So you'll engage bilaterally?
Yeah. Yes, we will.
That's fantastic.
So in the interest of time, or my sister, all I'm saying is that join the movement. And Tsepo thought drinking coffee was complicated until we heard this story.
Yeah.
The rabbit story.
I just want to ask, just before you, I need just two quick things on the rabbits.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
First of all, do you get rabbit biltong? Can you?
Yes, I'm busy trying the rabbit biltong. It doesn't come out nicely, but I'm still trying it in a form of a wors, because we have a wors that we process. We have our own burgers. We have the kebabs.
Wow.
We have the strips.
Fantastic.
You name it.
Join the movement.
Busy trying to do the polony and the ham.
We're all around. That's a magnificent story.
Thank you.
We are here. Great.
You know, I remember many years ago, we took my wife out for dinner, or we were friends, and we were offered rabbits. And my wife turned around and she said, "I will never eat the Easter bunny." And then we tried it, and I absolutely concur with what you say. It's brilliant. It's absolutely delicious. Thanks for bringing that into the conversation.
Okay.
Anybody else? Going once? Going twice? And we're done. Okay.
Online? Nobody.
So nothing online. So folks, thank you very much indeed. I want to ask you to sit here with me for one reason, because I'm a bit nervous.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
That's really it.
Okay.
So better that he has a target of 2 than a target of 1.
I'm with you. Yeah.
So,
We're
all
on
right.
to him.
So Tsepo Twala, back to you.
You are selling rabbit. Yeah. In auction, they will say it's witchcraft. You are loyal, ma'am. Yo, nakwacha. Ooh. I think it's a lucrative business. I think you were sharing to me that every 2 weeks they produce. Evan, how about nakwacha? Who would have known? Yeah. White or black and white? It's one thing. Wow, proudly South African. I'm excited. I'm seeing Toyota here in Quantum. How many of you have been in a taxi? It's quite an experience. Ooh. How many of you have X3s? Boom! Hands down. Once you have a BMW, and those are the most problematic drivers ever. You follow them, then there's a hump. Yo. He will write an S with the car. BM drivers, I'm sure there's BM drivers here. There's also one on my left without mentioning and pointing, but X3. No. BM drivers. BMW has been given many names. BMW, black man's wife, baby making weather. Hey. So let's get these X3s, Buffett. I think it's a way to go. And all that. So BMW is on point. And when we get married, we are black people. And I've got my brother, Tacheri. We are gate crashing the graduation. We are there. Congratulations to the daughter already in advance. Give us the date. You'll send us the dates, and then we are there. We're going to make it happen. We will be wearing our drip. We'll be dripping. And when you are doing the vote of thanks, you're saying, who are all these people that say, don't worry, drip. It's very exciting to be South African. I think one of the things that we must also be able to be accustomed to and celebrate is the spaza shop in the townships, you know. Yeah, it's a pity now. I don't mean to say anything else, but our Pakistanis brothers, I'm telling you, bangenile, because you guys don't support umam's hlobo laphayana. You know, it's funny because Coca-Cola would put a board, you know, ebhalwe kwamhayise. And then when you get there and say, Mam Haise, hello, my friend. Oh. And this simply means we are not able to keep our economy going local. So let's make sure. I'm a big fan of Spaza Shop. You know, Spaza Shop have got that thing, man. You can just be yourself. You don't need to put a bell. We just call you. Different people come serve you. The next thing it's the mother. The next thing it's the father. The next thing is the aunt. The next thing is the doctor. The next thing is the dog. Oh, okay. That's it. So let's keep it local and make it as nice as possible. Going back to the taxi, if you have not been into a taxi, you are missing out because there's no experience of a taxi. You guys are going Bolt now. You guys are going Didi. No. Go to the taxi where there's a sticker that says, don't bang the door. And the driver says, Shaya Kakulu. The sticker just said, don't bang the door. You know? It's quite an experience because then the driver will then say, there's a time where we are paying. That Jerry, me and you must have an excursion. Siekas. And the mangena la panyongena. What to pete man ngithi Petuta Jerry Max. We are driving an X3 with our Max. I'm telling you. So we have that time whereby we are supposed to pay. There's 3 types of taxis. There's the local, there's the short one, then there's a long distance. The long distance taxi, that's where you write a disclaimer. If I die, call happy. I'll be more than happy in my death. And then there's ones from, go to Joburg and whatnot. And then there's those, the local. The locals ones are the ones who are near retirement. It's korokoro, As you are inside, you are seeing the streets there. You can easily see the rabbit there too. Yo, no kwacha, yo. Yeah, it's quite an experience. That one, it's quite an experience. Just you're going to Soshanguve, all-white party. By the time you get there, you are wearing an all-white and red, two-tone, because the dust was coming from underneath. But with the taxi, the sesfigile, I'm telling you, especially now with the sanitizers and the mask, things happen. It's more of an upgraded version. No, there's what we used to call, during my days, I'm still young as it is, but there was those taxis where you call them inkomo ziyophuza. This is a taxi that the door does not go from left to right, but it comes to you. And then when you go inside, when it's full, you will sit just at the engine and watch everybody watching you as the taxi is going. So you are not sure whether to look for money, look for anything, because there's a Magreni there who's looking at you this way. There's a guy who's just there sleeping there at the back and everything. The engine this side, Tajiri, I'm telling you, by the time you come out, you are very hot. Then comes the money part where we are supposed to pay. I think I was a mathematician student. Yeah, I did very well when it comes to, I did board maths, bracket of division, multiplication, addition and subtraction. I still remember that. They call it pure maths and whatnot, and verbal maths and whatnot. Where are you going to take verbal maths? It's verbal maths. It's the one they give you a sentence. It's a sum. Yeah, verbal maths. Math literature. No. Never sit in front with the driver if you are not counting savvy. Yeah, it's a big term. I don't want to say if you can't count money. I want to say if you are not counting savvy. Because you find certain places whereby the taxi is 14 rand 50 cent. And somebody pays with the 50 rand and they say to you, 20 rand 3, 2, 14 rand 50, 1 rand 13 rand 50. You look at the driver won't buy your story and say, Ufunan wena pambi. Why are you sitting at the front if you can't count? Because the best accounting people, it's the taxi drivers. They will sense and smell if 50 cent is missing. And just in the entry, he will tell the taxi and say, for that matter, I am going back to the... It's quite an experience. So I'm saying to you, make some time to park your X3, go to Sesfigile, a Toyota, which is locally made. It's not inside, it's on. Nazo, Sbw.com, guys, I'm signing out. Thank you for this opportunity. Let me brand myself. Because from the word brand comes rent, South African. I'm available as your MC for corporate and non-corporate events. I'm available as an MC for your 21st, 31st, 41st, 51st, 61st, 71st, 81st, 91st, 101. Yeah. Where your granny hears nothing and say, I'll be there to MC. For comedy, you can still get me if there's any church folks. I know there's a lot of challenges and sometimes we see things under the carpet at church. Let Sbw.com come and Sbw-rise you and Sbw ring so that issues can be unpacked and then we are together. I'm living local. I'm local. And thank you so much. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
What a wonderful, warm morning we've had. We've learnt about many things, including rabbits, which is really great. Folks, thank you for allowing me to be part of your space today. As I said right at the very beginning, we've known each other a long time. I am firmly behind this movement. I think the campaign works. I think it's powerful. I think it resonates. And I think it's going to do the job. The challenge, of course, is for us to act on the campaign. which is absolutely critical. Happy, I know that you've got to pay the bills.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you to give the vote of thanks, and then I guess after that into the foyer, and then please circulate.
Before you run, Jeremy, I want to talk to you about the campaign that we launched today is we've partnered with MultiChoice. So from Monday, from the 5th, you will see the commercial on MultiChoice. MultiChoice is a member of the campaign. Guys, it goes without saying that they are a leader of the pack when it comes to local content. Between 6 and 9 in the evening, we are glued on those screens, whether it's Adult South Africa, it is The River, Uzalo, no, it's the other people. Yeah, it's the other people who we need. It's the other people. It's a national broadcaster, but there's The River, The Queen, you name it. Uyajola, what more? All of those things. We know the story. But the most important thing with this partnership is the fact that we have common goals, and common goal is local content. We all know that MultiChoice is also very big on sports. Diski Challenge, we all know that. The Premiership League is also their baby. But they've got many programs that I personally very like and proudly South African likes. Their funding program for me is a game changer. From a employment perspective, where you will know that many of us in this room, in the absence of that whole big local content drive on our television sets, we grew up watching. Okay, I'm about to expose how old I am, but anyway, that's beside the point. We watched Mr. T. What was that? The A-Team. We watched MacGyver.
It's a long time.
Yes, it's a long time ago. We watched MacGyver. We watched. It's now back with Chicken Licken. Kit Michael Knight. There we go. There's a dude. There's my brother there. Michael Knight. And some of the programs that MultiChoice drive is around the fact that many people who watched all of that at a certain time are now people who are in the driving seats from a local content perspective. Producers, story writers from a technology perspective, where they now telling our story, the South African story, for us as South Africans to absorb and to have an appreciation of. So MultiChoice, we all know that that particular program, it's a funding program that they have, is really making a big difference. But also, from a procurement spend perspective, they spend about 252 million rands, on ensuring that they upskill people who want to be in the film industry, who want to tell local stories, who want to be in the technology of the storytelling, and who want to be in any part of the value chain. You can imagine what we see on the screen. There's a lot more happening behind the scenes. Somebody has to style the actors and actresses. There's makeup, there's catering, there's technology, there's all of those things behind the scenes that contribute to the value chain. So it made perfect sense for us to partner with MultiChoice. By the way, their new, the decoder, Ultra, is made locally. So there's another job creation element to it. They make the decoder locally. And so you will see this commercial on MultiChoice from next week. But with that said, some of the brands that you saw here is really a drop in the ocean in as far as our members are concerned. There's many, many member companies. And some of these brands, fantastic. It's a combination of big brands and small businesses. And we plan to have a second series. We plan to make this a movement going forward to ensure that we highlight and showcase some of the member companies that we have in our pool of member companies. Fantastic. And that's my story, and I stick to it.
Folks, thank you so much for coming today. I'm going to ask all of you to repair outside and circulate, visit the stands. And I know that Proudly South African staffers are on hand if you have any questions.
Okay, before you go, may I please do my official closing?
You can do your official closing.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much, everybody. To the media, we will never be able to even move an inch as Proudly South African to spread this narrative without your assistance and your support. You could have been anywhere today, but you chose to be with us and heeded our call to help us move, you know, this buy local movement. Thank you so much. We don't take it for granted. Everybody who has joined us from all the social media platforms, thank you so much for being with us today. Our stakeholders who have logged in, you know, everybody, the DTIC, all the stakeholders that you see here on screen, all the members that are here on the screen who have joined online, and members who are here, thank you so much for your support. All the proudly South African followers. We have board members who have joined online. Thank you so much for giving us carte blanche, as giving the CEO and the executive carte blanche to really do our best under the circumstances. We thank you so much. Proudly South African team, thank you so much for doing a great job. Bravo. Thank you for being such a beautiful, gracious hostess in hosting us this afternoon, this morning rather. Thank you, everybody. Please go to the foyer and have a cup of coffee and have nibbles, everything made locally, and catch us on our social media platforms, see us on MultiChoice, and see us on the national broadcaster as well with our game time commercial in the next few weeks. Thank you, everybody.
Fantastic.
Goodbye. Thank you, Jeremy.
It's my pleasure. And,
Jeremy.
can someone just wake the lady up at the back?
Still.